and welcome to Order of Operations Problems with Parentheses. So these might be a little bit more challenging than the ones that you dealt with in 5th grade. So we're going to go through, we'll review the Order of Operations really briefly, and then we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of these types of problems. Alright, so if we start, we look at the top, which we know is our grouping symbols. Remember in the last video we talked about that we're not going to call it parentheses anymore because in middle school there's more than just parentheses. So we want to make sure that we are including everything when we're doing it. So grouping symbols, then exponents, then multiplication from left to right. Remember whichever one you come to first. And addition or subtraction again is on the same step, so you're going to go from left to right when you're doing that one. Alright, let's take a look at this problem. Okay, so we're going to start at the top of my flow chart. We're going to start with the grouping symbols. In this case, I have parentheses, so I'm going to put a box around it. Okay, now, question is, do I include this 2 in the box? Well, the answer to that is no, because it's outside of my grouping symbol. So I'm going to, when I draw my box, make sure that 2 is outside, because I'm not going to deal with that right now. I'm going to start with the stuff that's inside the grouping symbols, which would be 4 plus 9. And 4 plus 9 is 13. Now, since I haven't used my square yet, I'm going to bring down that to the second power. And remember that when something's right outside parentheses, like if I had like 2 and then parentheses and 3, this is the same as 2 times 3. So I know that the 8 is right outside the parentheses, so that's going to be multiplication. So that's going to be 8 times 13 squared. Alright, so I need to now, I've gotten rid of my grouping symbols, I'm going to deal with exponents. Well, my exponent, 13 squared, remember that means 2 13s multiplied together. So 13 times 13, if you don't know that, you can do it off to the side. And 13 times 13 is 169 times 8. Now, this is probably something you're not going to do in your head, so let's go ahead and write it out over here. Okay. 8 times 9 is 72. That would be 48 plus 7 more is 55. And 8 times 1 is 8 plus 5 is 13. So the final answer to that problem, probably should box that in, is 1,352. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at some more examples. Alright, so in this problem, again, I'm going to start with my very first thing, which would be grouping symbols. So as I take a look, I do have grouping symbols. And so I know that I'm going to put a box around that. I don't have a little exponent up here this time, so that's cool. And I'm going to go ahead and just do 9 minus 5, which would be 4. I know that this 3 is directly outside the grouping symbol, so I know I'm going to use that for multiplication. So I know I have to do a 3 times 4, and I haven't used the 8 and the plus yet, so I'm going to bring that down. Okay? Well, the next thing would be exponents to deal with those, but I don't have any because there's none there, so now I'm going to move on to multiplying and dividing. Well, all I have is multiplication, so I'm going to put a box around that. That comes out to 12. And 8 plus 12, of course, is 20. Okay. Not too scary, right? Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. I start with my grouping symbols. So do I have any grouping symbols? Well, yes, I do. And again, I'm going to start putting a box around what I'm going to do first. And as you can see, there's a square here. And again, it's outside the parentheses, so I'm not going to include it in my box when I'm doing this problem. Alright, 4 plus 4 is going to be 8. Okay. My next step is to deal with exponents. So I've got exponents here, so 12 to the second power. Remember that means 2 12s multiplied together, so 12 times 12, which is 144. I also need to do 8 squared. Okay. Which, by the way, you may be going, well, couldn't I just do the 8 squared here too when I'm doing the 12 squared? And actually you can. But since we're still just practicing, I want to make sure that we're doing every single step individually. Once you guys start getting really good at the order of operations, I'm going to show you where you can do multiple things in a step. But right now, I want you to do one thing in each step so that you really get good at it and you're not going to make mistakes when they get harder. Okay? Alright, so 8 squared means 2 8s multiplied together, which gives me 64. And so for my final answer, I'm going to do 144 minus 64. Again, you can do this just straight subtraction if you need to. You can go ahead and set it up. If it makes it easier for you, just do it off to the side and not in the middle of the problem. And of course, 4 minus 4 is 0, and 14 minus 6 would be 8. So your final answer would be 80. Now, your turn. Okay. What I want you to do is in a moment, you're going to pause this video, you're going to try these two problems, and as soon as you get done, you'll hit play again, and then I will go through it and you can make sure that you did it correctly. Alright, so right now, go ahead and hit pause. I'll wait. Alright, did you do it? Feel pretty good about it? Well, let's take a look at them. Alright, so we start with grouping symbols. So I'm going to start, I see that I've got some parentheses here, so I'm going to put a box around my grouping symbols. Remember that squared is outside of the parentheses, so I'm not going to include it when I am putting my box around that. Alright, so 7 minus 3 is 4. I'm going to bring down my square. I got that 2 right outside the parentheses, so remember that means multiply. I'm going to bring everything down. Now, what comes next? Exponents. Well, I have to do exponents. It's going to be really tempting to look at this 2 times 4 and be like, hey, I can do 2 times 4 and then square it. Yeah, it's not going to come out the same. So make sure that when you're doing this, that you're following the order of operations. You've got to do exponents before you can multiply. So I'm going to start with 4 squared. 4 squared means 2 4s multiplied together, so 4 times 4, which is 16. Alright, now going on to multiplication and division. Right, I just have multiplication, so I'm going to go ahead and do 2 times 16, which is 32. Again, if you can't do that in your head, that's totally fine. You just go off to the side over here and multiply it out. Okay? Alright, and then finally 5 plus 32 gives me a grand total of 37. Did you get it right? Alright, if you did, great. If you didn't, make sure you look and find your mistake, and so that you don't make the same mistakes again. Alright, let's look at the last problem. Again, starting with grouping symbols. My grouping symbols, I have one set of parentheses. I'm going to go ahead and do 3 minus 1, which is 2. The 3 was outside the parentheses, so it was outside my box. Bring down what I haven't used. This time I didn't have a number in front of that. Okay. Next step, deal with exponents. Remember, 2 to the 3rd power means 3 2's multiplied together. And again, that's one of them that sometimes people have trouble with. It's 3 2's multiplied together. 2 times 2 is 4. And then I got this extra 2. And 2 times 4 is 8. So that comes out to 8. Okay. Multiplication and division come next. So 9 times 8, which is 72. Minus 8 gives me a final answer of 64. Alright. I hope this helps, and remember, you can always watch the video again if you need to go over it one more time, and good luck!